Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. The title of this short speech is Predestination versus Free Will. We know that humans were created and brought to earth to be tested. When we humans create some technologies or build a machine, we know how the machine will perform. For example, if two cars are exposed to a stress test, we know how they behave and perform. How much load, for example, an SUV can carry, and how much load a sedan car. Therefore, Allah Jalla Jalaluhu, who has granted the intellectuality to all 8 billion people, at least in our time, definitely and absolutely knows how each human being, from birth onward, throughout their lives, behave, perform, and act. For us humans, there are past, present, and future. We are sure about what happened in the past, like we know where we were yesterday, what we ate, and what we did. And about tomorrow or future, we can plan, we can assume, but we cannot be sure. For Allah Jalla Jalaluhu, however, there is no such thing as future. Future for Him is like the past. Allah Jalla Jalaluhu is the all-knowing, Al-Alim Jalla Jalaluhu, whose knowledge encompasses past, future, present, everywhere, anywhere. Therefore, Quran Kareem says, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Fariqun fil Jannati wa Fariqun fil Sa'ir. A group of them will be in paradise and another group will be in hellfire. This is like we say, some of my relatives are in Afghanistan and some are in Toronto. However, we know the details of who is back home, who is in Toronto, and where they live. So when Allah Jalla Jalaluhu indicates that there is a group of them in paradise, of course He knows in full detail who and who and who and where they're going to be. Similarly, when He says another group of them will be in hellfire, absolutely and definitely He knows all the specifics of those people. While nothing can be unknown to Allah Jalla Jalaluhu, He absolutely knows everything in the future. As a matter of fact, future is like past to Him, glorified be He. Therefore, He could have placed us in paradise or hell according to this verse. But there would have been a problem. And the problem would have been that we humans would have not been convinced. For example, we would have said, well, Allah Jalla Jalaluhu, I am as good as Prophet Ibrahim. I am as good as Moses, peace be upon them. Whereas Allah Jalla Jalaluhu knew that if we were brought to earth, Moses and Ibrahim will behave much differently than the rest of us. He knew that. But the problem once again would have been that we humans would have not been convinced, and we would have criticized God's justice. Therefore, Allah Jalla Jalaluhu says, وَلَمَّا يَعْلَمِ اللَّهُ الَّذِينَ جَاهَدُوا مِنْكُمْ وَيَعْلَمَ الصَّابِرِينَ. So that we observe the striving and struggling of some of you and witness their patience. Also, because one of the purposes of us coming to earth is to know God, is to become Allah conscious. Therefore, Allah Jalla Jalaluhu is the creator, for example. He is Al-Khaliq. But He can create variety. Had He initially created all of us in paradise, He would have had to create us all equally, at same levels, same qualities. He brought us to earth or to this world so that one of His abilities, that is to create variety, would be demonstrated here. Had Allah Jalla Jalaluhu created us initially in paradise under those favorite conditions, we would all have loved Him and shown sincerity towards Him. According to the verse, فَرِيقٌ فِي الْجَنَّةِ وَفَرِيقٌ فِي السَّعِيرِ, Allah Jalla Jalaluhu knew who were sincere and who were not, who would have loved Him and who would have not. Therefore, Allah Jalla Jalaluhu has brought us to this world and has exposed us to ups and downs of life, so that the true sincere ones would be differentiated from the fake ones. And in here, He has exposed us to various conditions, various locations, various seasons, and different circumstances. But what is more important is that the controller of our body, of our actions, of our thoughts, of our intentions, that is the heart, is being controlled by angelic inspirations and satanic temptations. So, while the angelic inspirations and satanic temptations, like signals, control our heart and consequently control the entire robot of this body, it is up to us whether we expose ourselves to angelic inspirations or satanic temptations. So that's where the free will comes. Now, the amount of angelic inspirations depends on how much we strengthen our soul, and conversely, the amount and strength of satanic temptations that we receive depends on how much we fortify our ego. So it is up to us whether we nourish our soul or our ego. In conclusion, while this topic of predestination versus free will is a very complex issue and requires a spiritual talent to understand it, but we like to summarize it that while Allah Jalla Jalaluhu knew how each individual human being from birth throughout his or her life will behave, act, what words he or she is gonna say, how he or she will be behaving under different conditions, exposed to different places, different times, etc. He has given us a chance to prove ourselves, and He has given us a choice whether we strengthen our soul or our ego. He has given us the self-awareness knowledge, in other words, the knowledge about soul and ego in the Quran Kareem. And He has taught us about the nourishments of the soul, and He has shown us what nourishments for the ego are good and which ones are harmful. I hope that this short talk has shed some light on this very complex topic of predestination versus free will. Thank you for your time. Khuda Hafiz.